My name is Sanmay, and I'm a program manager here at Power to Fly, and I'll be your host for today. And we have an amazing speaker with us whom I will introduce in a couple of moments. So just wait for a couple of moments before we get to the crux of the session. All right, so I'm very excited to be moderating today's conversation with Nathalie Bastiou from Moody's. And before we move over to the session, I have a couple of housekeeping items. So this is nothing new. We have been living in the post-pandemic era for quite some time. So you already know this, but just spare me a little moment to go through a couple of housekeeping rules. So first of all, we encourage you to participate. Turn your cameras on and drop your name and where you're joining us from in the chat box. We are always eager to know where our community members are joining us from. Also, this conversation is being recorded. So 2 to 4 days after the chat, you'll receive a rewatch email with a link to the recording. So please note that you might show up on the live recording if you're on camera. Feel free to share any questions or any comments that you have about the session and put those in the chat box. And if you'd like to remain anonymous, you can definitely DM me all those questions in the chat and I'll ask them on your behalf. And better yet, if you want to directly speak to our speaker and come off mute and ask your questions, there is a raise a hand feature that's available on the bottom bar of the Zoom, so you can use that as well. We always want to keep all of these conversations as engaging and as interactive as possible. So make use of this moment and this session to ask your questions and get your questions answered by our amazing speakers. So, as I previously mentioned, we have a very special guest from Moody's. Moody's is a Power to Fly partner, and Moody's is a global integrated risk assessment firm that empowers organizations to make better decisions. Their data, analytical solutions, and insights help decision makers identify opportunities and manage the risks of doing business with others. At Moody's, they believe that greater transparency, more informed decisions, and fair access to information open the door to shared progress. So with over 14,000 employees in more than 40 countries, Moody's combines its internal presence with local expertise and over a century of experience in financial markets. So if you're interested in working at Moody's, make sure to visit their page, company page at Power to Fly, and learn more about their working opportunities. We'll be dropping the link to the Moody's company page in the chat. So make sure you visit them and check out the open roles and see which ones fit your profile. All right. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our amazing speaker, Nathalie Bastiou. And before I drop the mic to give the mic to her, let me just give a quick little bit of introduction. So Nathalie is a senior leader within Moody's Analytics leadership team with 18 plus years of experience across Europe, Africa, the Middle East, Asia Pacific, and Japan. Throughout her tenure at Moody's, she has led multicultural teams in customer service, sales, and account management. She's currently the head of strategic projects and operations for the sales team in Asia Pacific and Middle East. So Nathalie is also recognized as a competent and experienced recruiter, leading and developing people in multicultural environments. She's an active diversity and inclusion leader and has served as a co-chair for the Women Business Resource Group. So welcome, Nathalie. We are so glad to have you with us here. And I know I've just given a quick snippet about you and your career journey. So tell us more about you and your career journey so far.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me and having me today. I'm very excited. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening for all of you on the call. So yes, I like it says here on this page, I have been with Moody's Analytics for almost 19 years. In September, I will be celebrating 19 years. It's been a very exciting journey so far. I think I am a good victim of being at the right place at the right time with the right people. Because I was very fortunate to be able to grow my career with the company. It's been an exciting journey. Like I said, I started in London and then I moved to Asia Pacific 7 years ago, initially to Hong Kong. And now I am currently based in Singapore. And I am, as the slide said, today my role is head of strategic programs and operations for the sales team in Moody's Analytics. And I'll be sharing more about how I help bridge the relationships between sales and customer success and other teams within Moody's Analytics.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Nathalie, for that introduction. And before we move to the, so let's move to the Q&A portion of the session. So we have received several great pre-submitted questions from our audience. I'll start with the first question, which is, how does your position as the head of strategic programs and operations impact both CSMs and sales teams?
All right. So in my role, I currently work very closely with our sales executive leadership, developing and executing our strategic projects. So the main objective is to ensure that everyone in the sales team understands the company's vision, goals, and priorities, and that we align our efforts accordingly. So by doing so, it helps to create a cohesive approach to sales and ultimately to drive better results. But I also ensure that cross-functional collaboration by facilitating collaboration between sales and various departments in the organization, such as product team, our events and marketing teams, sales operations, and of course, that also includes collaborating with the customer service department and customer success teams. So it's very important that we foster a culture of information sharing and teamwork, so that we are ensuring that all teams are working hand in hand to achieve common goals, and that we are all aligned towards those. So that's my role in a nutshell.
Absolutely, absolutely. So just diving down a bit deeper, like as you mentioned, the goal of everybody in the team is like your role is to ensure that everybody in the team is motivated towards a common goal. So can you give us some examples of the challenges or roadblocks that typically exist between like sales and the customer success teams? What are some of the things that kind of hinder the communication or the regular transfer of information between these two domains?
Sure. So, I am a great believer that challenges in any type of relationship, it could be work relationship, it could be personal relationship in a family, with friends, usually challenges and roadblocks, they are typically a result of inadequate communication. Yeah. So, poor communication between sales and customer success team can result in misunderstandings. It can result in lost opportunities, and most worryingly, in customer dissatisfaction. So both teams, sales and customer success, need to share the information effectively to ensure, ultimately, we want to ensure seamless customer experience. The customer comes first, right? So it is important, and it is important to remember that both have different goals and incentives, sales and customer success. Sales team are typically measured by revenue generation and new customer acquisition, while customer success teams are evaluated based on customer retention, satisfaction, upsell rates. So this misalignment can lead to conflicts and hinder collaboration. So that's why ensuring that objectives are closely aligned from the start it's a key to success of any type of partnership. So basically what I'm trying to say is that we should align goals by improving communication, right? Establishing clear handoff processes during the sales cycle, fostering a culture of collaboration between sales and customer success teams. Because again, the reality is that customer satisfaction and retention rates are absolutely crucial for sales performance. You cannot grow your revenue without maintaining a strong and stable customer base. And for this to happen, you need customer success to be effective. So it is very obvious. There is no doubt that sales and customer success management team, they go hand in hand for both to be successful. They have to click together because the success of each is dependent on each other's success.
Absolutely. They're the pieces of the same puzzle, right? You cannot solve.
Absolutely. You cannot grow if you're losing customers, right? One customer lost is an additional customer on your target, right? You lose 10, you lose 10,000. You need to increase your target by 10,000. So, yeah.
Absolutely. So you mentioned how communication is one of the huge barriers, and that is one of the primary reasons that leads to any of the challenges or roadblocks, and as to any relationship between whether or not in the corporate world or on a real world, communication is the key to successful data transfer and successful working relationship between any teams. So can you dive deeper into what is your go-to strategy for creating an open communication model between these two departments, and give us some examples on situations where your models improve the communication between these two teams?
Sure. So I think it's very important to create a communication plan. By developing a structural flow that really outlines the communication channel, the frequency, and the content. For instance, having recurrent meetings, email updates, collaboration tools such as Slack or any other sort of internal messaging tool. So I think this will help develop clear goals, objectives, and define a desired outcome of each team or each stakeholder. This also helps to ensure that everyone is on the same page, that everyone is working towards a common goal, but also it allows to create a personal individual responsibilities and ownership. Ownership and accountability is very important. The notion of divide and conquer is super important as well. And so having regular meetings can help monitor progress and also adjust as needed. Things change. Situations may differ from a weekly basis. So it's important to have this recurrent revisiting, reassessing, monitoring, and readjusting as we go along. Customer success team can help identify leads. They can help identify red flags. So during those meetings, it's important to assign, like I said, owners and next steps, so that there is always someone accountable for something, and no bad surprises happen. So by implementing these simple steps, you can create an open communication model that will, of course, foster collaboration, transparency, and very importantly, trust between two different departments. And by that, you are going to ultimately lead to improve operational performance and success. So, and finally, just because we are really moving so fast in a technology on a technology advanced world, we're talking a lot about AI, etc. Leveraging best-in-class technologies can also ensure that all teams have a full view of the customer touch points, issues, risks, and opportunities is a key for such communication success. For any organization.
Absolutely. So basically, leaving nothing undefined and, defining every action, every responsibility, and assigning all the parts of the funnel to somebody, so that, you can foster a sense of accountability within
Exactly. Everyone knows what they should do and what they're responsible for. There is no misunderstanding, no misalignment. Everything's clear on the table, very transparent. Yes.
Absolutely. So one of the things that you mentioned, like in this conversation, that, oftentimes these teams, like, the sales team and the customer success teams have different goals, they are chasing different things. And so how do you foster collaboration in teams that have different agendas or sometimes conflicting goals? So what advice for creating a shared or efficient goals among these teams?
I think, again, as I mentioned before, we all have different objectives and different KPIs, right? Especially sales and customer success. We went through those already. But it's important that we understand that at the end of the day, no matter what your objectives, your goals, your KPIs are, we all align at the top with the company's goals, and we should all work towards those. So it's very important to praise and acknowledge each other's strengths and collaboration in a team environment. That's how it should work. And we should be fostering this culture of collaboration by rewarding teamwork and emphasizing the importance of working together towards a common goal. I think that's is very simple and clear in that way.
Absolutely. So we have an audience question. So as you mentioned, the first part of the question was, what's your main advice for managing workplace conflict between these teams? I think you answered a part of that. The other part is, this person is a CSM and they find it very hard to collaborate with the sales representative that has been assigned to them. They feel micromanaged and not trusted. So any advice on how to navigate hard conversations like this one?
Again, I know I'm repeating myself, but I really think encouraging open communication is key to help better understand each other's roles and responsibilities, so there is no confusion or overlap. And I think this can help prevent any conflict arising in the first place. Again, having a common goal that both teams can work towards will help to create the sense of shared purpose and collaboration. In the case of sales and CSMs, the shared goal is pretty obvious, is the customer satisfaction. And we know customer satisfaction is paramount to sales growth. Customer experience is paramount for sales growth. So one client, like I said before, one client lost means that the salesperson target goes up by the same amount of that lost client. So I think it's, the open communication and understanding each other's roles and responsibility is important in that sense.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I have an interesting question up next. And before I move into that, for all of our audience who's watching this, make sure to ask any questions that you have in the chat. And if you're feeling a bit shy, you can DM them to me anonymously and I'll ask them on your behalf. So make sure to, make the best out of this opportunity and get your questions answered by our amazing panelists. All right, so the next question that I have is a bit personal. So have you ever had to mediate or facilitate a conflict between sales and customer success teams? How did you approach resolving the conflict and promoting collaboration between the two teams after that conflicting situation? So tell us.
Yes, of course, we always have to manage conflict, right? I think it's important when you are a mediator, it's very important to listen to both parties and understand where which one is coming from. So give the opportunity for each party to explain their view, their understanding, or explain their frustration or the reason for the conflict. Again, try to put both parties in the. I'll go back to the customer, because in this situation is like it is the customer, right? go back to the customer. What's the impact on the customer? How should the company, how should we as representatives of the company be remediating the situation with the customer? And encourage, again, making sure that everyone understands their responsibilities, their goals, the roles that they have in that specific situation. I think it's, again, yes, it's just, being able to communicate and talk through dissecate the situation and understand how we can remediate so that the customer is not impacted.
Absolutely. And to be honest, from till now, most of the issues can be resolved by assigning and defining each of these steps as granularly as possible, and assigning a person to it, so that at any part of the funnel, each step should have somebody accountable for it. So that should solve most of the issue. So talking about that, what are your tips, or what are some of the actionable tips for defining responsibilities for each party, be that sales or be that customer success? How can we set and communicate clear expectations among themselves? Because it's easier said than done. So what are some of the actionable tips that you have to kind of impose this on the workplace?
Mm-hmm. So I think it's important to start by defining the roles and responsibilities of each from the beginning. Again, understand that the metrics and objectives are different, and accepting that they are different because they should be different. A salesperson, like I said, is in charge of all the commercial aspects of the sales cycle, from prospecting, from pitching, from selling, negotiating the fee, negotiating the renewal uptick, etc. It's a commercial relationship. Whereas the customer success manager, his role is really to ensure that the customer achieves their desired outcomes while using the company's product or service. So for that to happen, it involves building strong relationships with the customers, right? The customer success manager is there for that, is to build strong relationships with the customer, to understand their needs, their goals, and to actually proactively provide guidance and support to help the clients, the customer, achieve success themselves. But customer success managers and sales, they do work together with each other. They work together with marketing. They work together with the product teams. And we need to ensure that the customer feedback is incorporated into the product development, and that the customer is also informed of any new features or updates that the company may be releasing. So customer success managers, their goal is really to increase the customer satisfaction, retention, and loyalty. So you need to put, I think it's important to track and record the value of the customer success, the value that they bring to the sales professional, and that can be presented to the salesperson at the renewal time. We are bringing valuable insights for the salesperson to be as admonition for that contract, for that commercial negotiation at renewal time. And the sales professional should be able to demonstrate in that moment the value of the relationship that they have with us. So I know it's a very long way to answer your question, but I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. That's helpful. Basically, there should be a cadence for knowledge transfer, so that each of these teams are able to, kind of capitalize on the internal knowledge that the other team has, and use that to move towards the company's shared goals. And in this case, kind of acquiring a customer or keeping that customer for a longer time. So talking about that, can you tell us more about and give some actionable steps about organizing cross-training and knowledge sharing initiatives between the sales and the customer success teams? How do you do it, and what are some of the best practices to organize some of these knowledge sharing sessions or knowledge sharing workshops between these two teams? How should they be?
Yes. So actually at Moody's Analytics, we do a lot of lunch and learn sessions. And the lunch and learn sessions are really to highlight specific successful deals that we either closed or renewed. And it's very often we select deals that can be replicable or scalable, so that we can replicate the success in an easy way. So lunch and learns are very important. And we, of course, we invite every single party of that whole deal success. And we try to really promote teamwork. So it will not only be sales and customer success team, there will also be the sales operations, there will be legal, there will be every single party who contributed to the success of that deal. And again, that promotes the cross-functional team collaboration, knowledge sharing, and understanding of how each puzzle, like you mentioned before, played a part into the ultimate picture. We do a lot of newsletters as well. Every month we do a newsletter where we pick a few deals. And again, we will highlight everyone who contributed to the deal. We make sure that we include everyone. So those are the things that we do internally at Moody's to collaborate and foster this cross sharing, information sharing across teams. Absolutely. We also have a monthly meetings between specific teams, where we would again have sales, customer success, sales operations, everyone, where, the meetings that I was talking about, the ideas that I was talking about before of these regular meetings is to ensure that there is collaboration across all teams, everyone involved in we all share a common customer, but we all have different objectives in that relationship. So making sure that before the renewal time, everyone is aware of what they need to do, what the next steps are, what are the feedback information. So that's how the information share is happening on those recurrent meetings that we have. And again, it's not just with the customer. It's actually, I always say, if you belong to customer success team at Moody's, that's your functional, that's your internal team. Your reporting line, you report to the customer success manager, but in reality, your team it's a horizontal team. Your team is made of different people from different teams. That is your team, right? That is your team. So I always try to explain, you work for two teams, your own vertical team, but you also have a cross-functional team. And that's the most important one, because that's the one that you're going to be in action on the field, working with the customer, with that horizontal team.
Absolutely. They're touched with, they are touching be that product, be that marketing, be that sales.
Exactly.
So they touch all of these different verticals to make sure that, the end customer gets the best experience as possible. Totally agree with you.
Exactly.
So we have a comment from Linda. So Linda says, hi from Paris. Linda is joining us from Paris. So Linda has been working in sales for 10 plus years. They often come across colleagues in sales who are purely focused on the sale and not enough on the customer satisfaction. They find this to be very detrimental for the long-term customer retention. And companies should definitely focus on promoting stronger collaboration between customer success teams and sales. What are your thoughts on this? What do you have to say on this?
I think, yes, sales should be focusing on the sales aspect, on the commercials. Yes, absolutely, because that's how they are measured and that's their KPIs, right? But again, like I said before, they will not be able to succeed on their own KPIs without maintaining a strong base, a customer base. Retention is important. They won't be able to grow their book of business if they're not retaining that book of business, right? So again, I find it very difficult to believe and understand that that is promoting success, because maybe on the short term it is, but in the long term it will not be the case. So I think it's important for the customer success team in that case to really, again, by going back to communication, make sure that it is clear the value that they can bring to the table with a can-do attitude, proactive attitude, without coming across as they're stepping over their clients, but it is, at the end of the day, it is a shared customer. Yes, it's a customer of both the sales and the customer success. They're sharing the same customer, but we are selling a service, we are selling a product, but the product comes with a service. And the service is that customer satisfaction. It is that experience. We don't buy products, we buy experience. Often we are buying experience. We're not buying a product, we're buying experience. And that experience is provided through the customer success team.
True, absolutely. And oftentimes, great products might get overshadowed if they are not accompanied with a greater experience. So yeah, absolutely, some nuggets of truth there. All right, so moving on to our next question, which is, how can the leadership team support and encourage collaboration between sales and customer success, and what practices can they adopt to foster a culture of collaboration within the organization? So what can be done from the top tier, the top leadership team to ensure that there is a culture of collaboration between these two teams? What are some of the actionable insights?
I think it's important that I think again creating an environment of open dialogue, open communication, praising each other, acknowledging and recognizing that each of us has own objectives and goals. I think that's how it should be done, from the top down, and remembering again that although from the bottom up, if we all have our own objectives and KPIs, at the end of the day we are, like I said, working towards the same goal and objective at the company level. And so together we can achieve that in a much easier and successful way. Celebrating and fostering teamwork is very important.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Nathalie, for those wonderful insights. So now moving on. So the times that we are living in. So these are unprecedented times. We are seeing some global recessions at some places, and there are some there are changes in the economic scenario day in and day out. So what's your advice for boosting morale during challenging times? And any tips for keeping ourselves motivated throughout the times of economic hardship?
So in my 19 years at Moody's, I have gone through a few ups and downs of crises, etc. And I think what I have observed and learned is that keeping open, I sound like a broken record, but keeping an open communication is important. And being transparent about the situation, providing regular updates is super important. be available to answer questions and listen to concerns. Having an open door policy is very important. But also as a manager, maybe recognize and appreciate the team's efforts, celebrate small wins and milestones, and also keep acknowledging individual achievements and contributions. I think, keeping a positive mindset and instilling a positive mindset to your surrounding is very important in those times that maybe we're living through difficult challenges or economic downturns, etc.
Absolutely. As you mentioned, since you have a vast sort of experience of 19 years and you have seen these economic downturns previously as well. So can you share some personal experiences or examples where you're seeing teams successfully navigate through challenging times and come out stronger on the other side? And just analyzing those situations, what were the key factors that contributed to their resilience and motivation?
Mm-hmm. Sticking out for each other is very important. Today I might be struggling on something, tomorrow I might be excelling on something, and vice versa. So helping each other is very important, and coming stronger together is a factor of success. Yes, so I think, helping each other in those moments is very important. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I just received a question on my DM. So our audience member asks that how, in your opinion, how important is it for individuals to prioritize self-care and mental well-being during these challenging times? So these are the times where many of the sales team members are not being able to hit their quotas or their goals. So how should they handle it on a personal level? And give us some practical tips or techniques to maintain motivation during these times when you consistently see yourself not hitting the goals or not hitting the quotas that are assigned to you.
Mm-hmm. So I think I will share a personal example in this case. I think it's very important to be able to be very self-disciplined and to be strong enough to actually be courageous enough to very simply in your calendar, block some time off. It could be the beginning of the day, during lunchtime, or at the end of your day for yourself. Because you talked about mental as well, right? Mental well-being. And there is a lot that's been talked about after COVID, about the importance of mental well-being. And I think, so I just moved to Singapore a year ago into this new role, and it was challenging for me as a mother of two young kids going through many changes. They are entering teenagehood, so it's challenging. I am in a new city, trying to adapt. I am in a new role that is very challenging, very intense, but very rewarding. So, there's a lot of changes, and you feel that you're not outperforming as you should. In a salesperson could be struggling to hit your target or whatever. And I was trying to do too much, and I was just trying to race against something that the more you fight and the more you race in a difficult situation, the worse it becomes. So you really need to learn to pause, take a step back, and really reset and make some adjustments. So the adjustment that I made was very simply, I have blocked, if you try to book a meeting with me during the week, you will see that my calendar is blocked every day from 5:30 to 6:30. It's blocked. In my role, I have to take evening calls. So that's my personal example. Okay, please, in my case, I block 5:30 to 6:30. Nobody disturbs me. Nobody disrupts me. I'm going to the gym. That's my gym time. That's the moment of the day where I am on myself alone, doing my exercise, and it helps me de-stress, decompress, and reset. And I have found that just by doing that small thing of blocking that time on my calendar, it helps me go to the gym, And it helps me, get out all the stress out of my system, and just accept the fact that sometimes you don't have to do everything at that moment. You can take a 1 hour break to you can take a 1 hour break to do something else, and you come back refreshed, re-energized. I think that's very important for the mental well-being, to be able to block that. Someone may want to block the 1 hour during the lunch break, or maybe from 9 to 10 in the morning, or 8 to 9 in the morning to do something. I think it's very important to be able to be that self-disciplined, to achieve a good balance so that you can perform well.
Absolutely. Love that personal story, and our audience is also loving it. So Linda says, thanks for sharing this personal story. I can totally relate, having 2 kids myself. It's all about the balance and the self-prioritization, so that once you heal completely, and once you're ready at a mental level, and once you're balanced at a mental level, then you can take on challenges with a more clearer attitude in mind. Absolutely love that.
Absolutely.
All right. So one of the things that you also mentioned, Nathalie, is during the times of hardships, to celebrate smaller wins, so that the team's morale is boosted, and everybody feels a sense of achievement. So tell us more about, how do you celebrate and communicate wins at Moody's? We'd love to get some ideas, and maybe this person would like to implement it across their organization as well.
Yes, sure. So I think I shared before already, but we use different ways to celebrate success, and it's very important to celebrate success, because for a salesperson, success may be represented by the money that they make on the commission of the deal, but for customer success teams, maybe that's not so relatable. So enabling, giving the visibility to someone is super important. A simple acknowledgement of someone, of a win, of a milestone during a town hall, mentioning the name in an internal newsletter. I think that has a huge value. Giving that visibility is very, very important. I think giving the visibility is a reward in itself. Saying the name of the person, I think it's very important. We also have other, at Moody's specifically, we have some internal platforms where people can nominate each other and say, thank you for your contribution on this. What I often do is, if I receive an email from a colleague saying, oh, XYZ did a great job with the client, I will always reply with the manager on copy. It's small little things like that that have huge value, I think, in my opinion, in my view. We use, of course, Slack channels. We have events that celebrate people. So yes, it's not hard to celebrate success and communicate. It's very easy, actually. You just need to find a good way and the time to do it. And yeah.
Absolutely. Love that little nugget, those little things that you mentioned, like individually mentioning someone, and maybe, I really love that thing where, you're communicating a win and you're CC'd the manager in the thread. So that way, you're advertently, praising someone in the limelight, and, putting a spotlight. So that's amazing.
Correct. And I think, just to add on that, I have learned through my career that, of course, we own our own career, right? Nobody's going to be there promoting you or whatever. It's up to you. But it is important to have mentors, to have sponsors, to have coaches, right? And a mentor and a coach is a very specific type of profile, but a sponsor is very important as well. And if you can, as a manager or as a colleague, sponsor someone by doing these small little actions of mentioning someone or not, or praising someone for something, celebrating the success of someone, you're acting as a sponsor for that person internally, and allowing that person to gain visibility in the company. And I think those are very important success factors that will contribute for people's career advancement in a company.
Absolutely, and it's a very small gesture from the sponsor, but it means the world to the person who receives it. So it totally makes their day, and it totally boosts up their morale. So I have another question in the similar lines, like you mentioned, mentioning the individuals specifically, during these wins. So this person is a sales leader with 14 plus years of experience. So they're asking, how can you inspire and motivate your team members individually during tough times, considering that different individuals may respond to challenges differently? Are there any specific leadership practices or techniques that can be employed to cater to individual needs and to maintain a motivated workforce? One of the things can be, what you already mentioned. Do you have anything else to add? How to motivate individual members of your team in these situations of economic hardships? How to do that?
Yes. So I think this is where when you have a team, this is where it's very important to have those regular one-on-ones, right? Have frequent one-on-ones with your team members. And during those one-on-ones, I think you are able to grasp and connect a lot of information. You understand more about the person's personality. I personally, this is me again, and this comes natural to me. Every time I have a one-on-one with a team member, I will always start the meeting with breaking the hour. How are you? How was your weekend? What did you do? I try to connect the person with the individual on a personal level. Always, how are you? How simple things like I try to understand. I ask about, of course, some people are more private than others, so you have to respect that. But the more you do this, the more you understand how much the person in front of you is ready to open the door for you on a non-professional way, right? And so by doing that, you end up creating a relationship with your team member, and you understand what drives this person, what makes him happy, what makes him sad. You understand more about the personal. I think this is a way that I usually do when it comes to those difficult times, because I understand the personality more, preferences, personal life outside of work. It comes easier for me to help when it's needed.
Absolutely. And it also helps to connect on a more deeper level rather than, just goals and work and all of those things. You get to know the person on a more intrinsic level, the intrinsic motivations, and once you track those things, it's far easier to motivate them towards the larger goals, like towards the company goals, for instance. Once you know what clicks for a person, or is there anything that's hindering in their personal lives, that might be something that gets depicted in the work relations as well. So it's better to know the root cause of things while sorting out all of these. So thank you so much for these amazing insights. All right, so moving on to the next question. You've already mentioned that for all of the team members, the one thing that should be on the top of their priority list is the customer and the customer's needs, right?
Yes.
So how can the CSMs and sales representatives come across to clients as a single unit? What are some of the ways to do that?
So I think again, you mean going to customers together to a meeting with customers, right? And defining.
Yeah.
again, is having that communication with the customer, that sharing the responsibility of each other, and outlining, the customer success is here to work with you, understand your needs, tailor the solutions for you. The salesperson is going to, once we identify that, he will be able to come and propose to you what's the best solution. It's a different relationship. And actually, I think, because I have managed customer success teams in the past, they play a very important role in that relationship with the customer, because they are not wearing the sales hat, right? They're the good guys, if you want. They're not there to ask for money, or they shouldn't be there to ask for money. So the customer tends to open up more easily to a customer success manager. And the customer success manager has that responsibility to feed back to the sales all the intelligence that they have gathered throughout the conversation with the customer. So I think it's very important to go out to the customer and be very clear, specific what each role, the roles of each profile is. And that's it, really, very simple.
Absolutely. I really love that that small insight that you give us, like for the customer, for the client, sometimes, the customer success guys are the people, since they're not asking for money, so they might come across as a good guys. Yeah, that's really a great insight. All right. Based on your experience, what are the key soft skills that will help customer success manager and sales representatives to thrive in their position? So one of them is definitely communication. So tell us more.
Definitely, yes, communication. I don't know how many times I have used the word communication in this 1 hour. I probably will break the records, but yes, definitely communication is super important in both roles. CSMs need to communicate to customer their understanding, but I think also, empathy is also very important in both roles. To be able to put themselves in the customer's shoes and understand what their needs and pain points are, and as a consequence, active listening is also super important. The active listening is an important soft skills for both roles, because it helps build a rapport with the customer and understand their needs. And I think a very, very, very important one on both ones is problem solving. On both roles, you need to be able to problem solve, because that's mainly 90% of your job is about problem solving, to be able to identify and solve customers' problems. And that's the customer success role, right? But the salesperson also needs to identify the customer needs and provide the solutions that will best meet those needs. So problem solving is very important.
Absolutely. So, you listed some great soft skills. So the next question is it possible to pivot to these departments with non-related experience? If so, what are some of the transferable skills that will help the candidates with non-traditional backgrounds land a role in these units? And by these units, we mean sales and customer success.
I think well, I think all of the soft skills that I mentioned before, they are transferable skills in across both roles. I think, yeah, I wouldn't be able to add anyone more than that, but I think all of them, they are transferable skills for both of the roles. I started my career in customer service and customer success. Somehow I ended up in sales. And I think the reason why I ended up in sales is really because of my problem-solving skills. I also think that I am in my role today because of problem-solving skills, but also because of communication. You need to be able to communicate well. Both of them are client-facing roles, right? You need to be able to express and communicate well in front of the customer. active listening is important. So I think, yeah.
A little bit interchangeable. Basically, those two roles and some of the skills are interchangeable and transferable. Absolutely.
Yes, exactly.
All right. So thank you so much, Natalie. And with that, we are at the last leg of this session. We have around 5 minutes left. So to all of our audience, if you have any more questions, this is your last chance to drop them in the chat, and we'll make sure that those questions are conveyed to Natalie. So in these last, in these last 5 moments, we'll go through, we'll dive a little bit deeper into what it's like to work at Moody's. Let me just share my screen, and Natalie, give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen.
Yes, I can see your screen. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. All right. So before today's chat, we had the opportunity to share these questions with Natalie, and we'd like to dive deeper into them. So Natalie, when we asked you about the Moody's culture, you described it as people focused. So would you like to elaborate?
Yes. So I think that what I mean by people focus is from both from an external and an internal point of view. So internally, let me start first internally. People focus means Moody's is really a place where individuals are put at first. And that means that we respect each individual in the company. There's a huge emphasis on diversity and inclusion. So everyone is respected no matter what they are, basically. And we all have equal opportunity of growth and career development in the company. So everything is really centered around people. We know that our biggest asset in the company, it is the people. We have great products, yes. We have a great brand. We are renowned in the market, but it's all because of the people that are running the engine. We really want to make sure that Moody's is a place where people want to come and stay. This is the message that we're always sharing. We want to make sure Moody's is a place where people want to come and stay. So the word people is there. But also people in a way, externally, when I say people, I refer to clients, because everything we do is really customer focused, customer centric. We want to make sure that everything is tailored ultimately to the customer. Everything we do is for the customer. So we are very customer focused and customer centric in that way. So that's why, my very easy answer for this question for me, it is a people-focused culture.
Absolutely. And, your favorite part of working at Moody's was teamwork and collaboration. So
yes,
I can
definitely.
get, where that comes from. So you definitely love your team members. And as you mentioned, you really love to get to know them in a more intrinsic level through your one-on-ones. So I totally can get, the rationale behind that answer. So thank you for that. So moving on to the next thing, I'd love to dive deeper into your tips for someone who's looking to land an interview at Moody's. You definitely mentioned the importance of showing the growth potential. Can you elaborate a bit more on this?
Yes, so I think this is my case, my personal case. As when I joined the company, I didn't know anything about anything. I didn't know anything about the company, nothing. But I believe they hired me because they were able to see that I had the capacity and the potential to do something, to contribute to the company. And somehow, very strangely, when I am interviewing for people to join my team or helping colleagues to interview for their own open roles, I never try to find the final product. I'm not interested on that at all. What excites me is to be able to identify people that we can bring on board and groom, develop. And I take so much pleasure to see people that I have hired that have, that are still with us throughout the years, and they have grown their career. For me, when I have a candidate, I always say, look, I'm here to make a long-term investment. I'm trying to invest in someone, and I want to pick the right asset that is going to give me good long-term return, because that's what I want. And for that, I try to see and identify people that have the potential for growth, but that they are not the final product. I don't buy the final product, never.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much, Nathalie, and thank you so much for sharing your time and knowledge with the community. And thank you, Moody's, for making this event possible. And for all of our community members, thank you for joining us once again. And make sure that you follow Moody's page on Power to Fly and stay up to date on their open roles, benefits, and keep coming back for more fun sessions like this. So it was an honor to speak with you, Nathalie, and I loved every bit of insight and nuggets of knowledge that you had to share. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.